In this video, we will discuss about another very important feature of Selenium, and it's very important for interviews too. And yeah, so the feature that what we are discussing is authentication alert. So handling authentication alert. Okay. So what is meant by authentication alert is like, let me just open the application and navigate to the URL. Yeah, so this is the application URL. And when I click on enter, you see it displayed authentication alert, right? So it is asking for username and password. So there are certain applications which will have this kind of implementation, where as soon as you navigate to the URL, it displays this kind of alert. But so when you provide valid credentials and click on sign in, then only application will be opened. So otherwise, it will not display. Now here, if you say, I just click on cancel, and it says you're not authorized. But if you enter username and password and you know click on sign in button, and you see, yeah, it opened the content, right? So it displayed the content. But here it just says congratulations. Okay. So yeah, there are a lot of applications where will have this kind of implementation with authentication alert displayed at the beginning as soon as you navigate to the URL. Then how do you deal with this kind of alert? And okay, so the problem here is in Selenium, okay, so then this kind of alerts have been displayed, you will not be able to inspect those elements. At the same time, you will not be able to use any find element or anything for those alert. Like you cannot access that username, password fields and all using find element. And also, you will not be able to use switch to alert as well for that. Okay. Then how can I deal with that? Right. Okay. So in order to deal with that, authentication alert, Selenium provides a special interface that's called as HasAuthentication. Selenium provides, okay, so HasAuthentication. So we will have to utilize that. Let's see how we can utilize. Okay. So first, let me do one thing. So let me, create the instance of Chrome driver like how we do normally. Then I will just maximize the window. Then what I do is I will just navigate to URL, right? So I'm just navigating to the URL. Now, if you run this, you can see it's opened the application and also it opened the alert. Then let's try to inspect this element. You can see there is no inspect option coming when you perform right click. And since you cannot inspect, then you cannot explore the source code of it. In fact, that is JavaScript alert. It is not web. Okay, so it is not HTML based, so you cannot inspect those elements at all. Selenium doesn't recognize them. Then how can we do that? Okay, so as I told, by using HasAuthentication. Okay, how do we use that? Is just before we use that, just let's understand Selenium, the implementation overview. Okay, so if you see Chrome driver, right? So if you click on the Chrome driver extends Chromium driver. And Chromium driver implements HasAuthentication. Also, it extends remote web driver. Remote web driver implements web driver. So obviously, that means that Chrome driver implements web driver. That's why we are giving web driver type. Also, Chrome driver is implementing HasAuthentication, right? But by default, this driver will get only web driver methods because the type of the driver is given as a web driver. Now, if you want to use that HasAuthentication, cast this driver to HasAuthentication type. Then how do you do that? First, okay, so you say HasAuthentication of driver. You are casting the driver as HasAuthentication. You are casting the driver as HasAuthentication. Dot, okay, so you have to say HasAuthentication object dot register. Otherwise, you can also do this way. Okay, HasAuthentication equal to, then cast the driver like this. as authentication of driver. You do this way. Then you can say auth dot register. Then you give like username and password dot off. You have to provide your username and password. You say admin, comma, admin. Okay. And let me run this code. Okay, so I just have written this. See, it's a very simple code. Just cast the driver into HasAuthentication. Then you say that authentication object dot register, and you can say username and password dot off. So username and password is another class that what we have in Selenium. So you say username and password dot off. Then you provide username and password as a string. Okay. Now let me run this. Uh, yeah, so it is displayed. It's authenticated if you observe, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Before that, yeah. Okay. Fine then. So in case if you get any exception, okay. So any compatibility related exception, right? Then what you do is it is not displayed here, but in case if you get any exception, when you are using has authentication, so do one thing. Okay, so like you just open Maven repository, and in Maven repository, search for Selenium -dev. So we tools Selenium dev tools -v. Then check the browser version here. Check the browser version. Yeah, it is 127, right? Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. So you have to search for Selenium dev tools v127, but check for the browser version. Okay, so in your system, Chrome browser. Then you just open this dependency, add, okay, so take this dependency, copy this dependency in form.xml, add this. Okay, but this is in case if you get any compatibility exception when you use this has authentication. Okay, so it's a very important code. Yeah, so from interview point of view also, this is very, very important. So how do you deal with authentication alert?